Day 2 is upon us. The Ballymore Novices Hurdle is, I would say, highly anticipated. We've got a seriously juicy looking market if you have a strong opinion. Ballyburn leads the way. He's been there since the start of the season or even pre-season. Started off at 2 miles. People were questioning whether he'll go Supreme or Ballymore. The same question is being asked. However, he is 4-1 favourite at the time of recording. 5-2 non-runner money back with Hills. Firefox, his Conqueror. He's going to run the Lauder and Ace on Sunday. It's important to mention that race in the context of this because I'll get this out as quickly as possible, but we will have that result. So we will touch on the Lauders and Ace a bit more than we probably normally would do in a preview. It starts to get a bit bigger prices after that, right? Where I think it's open to interpretations. We won't run through the lot of them. I took a swing at this earlier in the season. Firefox, Slade Steel, Chapeau de Soleil. I just backed the 3 of those at bigger prices. I think Chapeau de Soleil is an Albert Bartlett horse. I'm terrified that if Patrick Mullins can win on him on Sunday, that he will scoot up in a Ballymore. They might even send him to Supreme. He could just be an aeroplane, but that's by the by. As it stands at this point, I wouldn't be confident in really tipping anything up. However, I would say Ballyburn's second run, that run over Christmas, was probably one of the most eye-catching for me, in the fact that he lobs along with that little low head, which some people take as a sign of keenness because Classical Dream did it. There are horses that can be keen in doing that. He's just got that little daisy cut ahead. He looks full of gears. The only thing with it is I go back and watch that maiden behind Firefox. Yes, Gordon's horses were ready. Yes, Willie Mullins is probably need the run, but Firefox handled him easily. So now I'm really confused, right? When we talk about the Lord of the Ace on Sunday, I think Firefox probably deserves to be a pretty strong favourite for that race. And I know there'll be people that will fancy Willie's horses. But if Firefox does go and win the Lauders and Ace, it then makes me think, well, how the hell does Ballyburn beat him? And if Firefox does get beaten there, that potentially could be a little bit of a knock to the form to Ballyburn. So I don't know what the best result is for Sunday in terms of Ballyburn. Jamie's touched on it in our Supreme video that he might not come here. So Jamie, I'll come to you first because there are some British horses that I haven't mentioned. As far as I'm concerned, the Irish have this race already in their back pocket. It's a question of which one of 2, 3, 4, or 5 horses they want to win it with. Who do you think is the number 1 contender for the Ballymore at the time of recording, and how much do you think that's going to change on Sunday in that, I mean, it's a beautiful renewal of the Lauders and Ace?
Exactly what you said, Dave, really. You have to wait till the Lauders. And I suppose the match that, like, if he comes here, everyone wants Firefox obviously to win at the Lauders at Naas on Sunday. Then we'll have the rematch, hopefully. Where I think, to be honest with you, all year, I thought Ballyburn will run the Supreme. But if he runs in here, I will still back him again to beat Firefox, regardless of what happens on Sunday. Atlantique, for me, is an Albert Bartlett horse. I don't think it's like. Can you see Atlantique? I know it's a bumper, it's a hurdle. Reversing the form with Firefox, not for me because I think he looks soft. To be honest, in his bumper when Firefox beat it. The other horse, obviously next on the list, is Predator's Gold. I touched on him in the Supreme video. I wouldn't count this horse out at all, and this could be Willie Mullins' horse for the race. And remember back years ago, I like to know the Higginstown have had winners of this race. I suppose the number 1 British horse at the moment is Gidley Park, and he did impress me at Newbury, but this race, unfortunately, at the moment is becoming an Irish benefit in the last couple of years. The other horse that, I mentioned in the Supreme preview was Slade Steel, who beat Lecky Watson at Navan and beat, obviously, King Kinfield over 2 miles at Naas. He impressed me, but you have to watch Lecky Watson in the race on Sunday then to have an opinion on it and where the form stands, because Lecky Watson screams to me as a Martin Pipe horse at the moment, because I don't think he's good enough to win even the Grade 2, to be honest with you. So he's only here probably to get a mark in the Lauders. But long story short, if wherever Ballyburn runs, I'll be backing it to win 100%. I'm on in the Supreme at 16s, and I'm on in the Ballymore at 12, so I'm happy, and I will not be changing my mind about Ballyburn, and then even come March I will change my mind because it will win it to Dira.
Yeah, I mean, that to be fair, that's some bets to tickets and hold, because I think Ballyburn was 13 to 2-ish, maybe start of the season, October-ish. Over the summer might be bigger prices. Paul, you would be the man to know even better than that, because you like to get them in the books early. I suspect you probably have got Ballyburn in the book.
Yeah, I have.
Was there any others you threw in early before we touch on what's happened so far this season? Was there anything pre-season you fancied for this race, and where your thoughts are on those now?
A few I had in early. Down memory lane, I had in early. Obviously, didn't run quite so well over Christmas, but didn't handle the ground. He could end up being a bit of a forgotten horse, actually. I know at one stage they were talking about him being a supreme horse. I never really bought into that. He looks more of a Ballymore type to me. That's going to want to go out and trip. So you could give him a second chance. I presume they'll run him on hope for better ground at the Dublin Racing Festival. The problem for him now is running on that desperate ground as a novice hurdler is just bad, full stop. He's got to recover from that now. It'd be hard to back him for anything without seeing him run again. And I suspect running him again will be a negative for his chances at the festival. So I kind of can't really have him on my mind now. But, he's one that could surprise on the day. I think that's probably the way I describe him. I agree, Slade Steele. I think he's probably more of a Ballymore type than a Supreme type. I think he's another one that could end up running a big race on the day that might be slightly overlooked. We talked about no flies on him when we did the Supreme. I think Eddie O'Grady probably does have a good novice on his hands for the first time in a long time with that horse. I think, Jamie, you were concerned that he was stopping on the line. I kind of read the race slightly differently. I thought he was a decent winner, but was probably going a shade quicker than he wanted. I think he might be helped by going a trip by going 2.5, and I think he could be useful. I think he's a contender. I don't see him as the winner, having said that.
Yeah.
Then you look at the Firefox Eel Atlantic form. It's either good or average, isn't it?
We'll find out Sunday as well, won't we?
Yeah, look, I've got real mixed feelings about it, if I'm honest. I'm a bit less excited about that form than most people seem to be.
Yeah.
You look at Firefox starting out. He was getting beaten by horses like what's Willie's Bartlett horse that's emerged. Oh God, I can't think of the name. Begins with S. In fact, I'm going to check while I'm talking.
But he's a second season novice as well, Firefox.
It begins with L. It's Lachlan.
That's the one, yeah.
Lachlan, yeah.
But that's the thing. He tried over hurdles first, didn't he? Before that bumper campaign, he was a 2.5 mile hurdle Firefox, wasn't he? And that's not to say he can't continue to progress, but he is entitled to be so much further forward than your Ballyburn would have been on debut, because he's had a season pretty much at home under his belt over hurdles, isn't he? So, yeah.
It's kind of how you pin the form down, isn't it? So
yeah,
I look at horses like Lachlan, who clearly are going to be stayers, that had too much speed for Firefox at that point in time.
Yep.
Firefox, we get excited about because his form with Eel Atlantic, and we think his form is marginally better. Maybe Eel Atlantic has been a little bit softer in the finish. Could be that he's grown up this year and that changes. Yeah. But I don't think any of that form is as good as we're going to get from Ballyburn. That's where I kind of come to. I agree that Eel Atlantic probably will improve as he goes up in trip. Gordon doesn't seem to know whether Firefox is a 2 miler or a 2.5 miler.
Agreed.
So he doesn't even know what his best trip is. You could argue the same with Ballyburn, but actually, they've said post-Christmas, we just think he wants 2.5. So I think he comes here. When Willie comes out and says it, he normally sticks to it. So I think Ballyburn comes here. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I don't think it's worth looking too much beyond it, if I'm really honest.
Yeah.
If you ask me for the best horse in this side of the RSC, the best horse that we've seen so far is Gidley Park. He's a big future chaser. It might just be happen all a bit too quick for him on the day. But then, we've got a trainer there that's done it in the past with a similar type. So, but that was in quite a weak renewal. So I'm not going to go too much further than say I think Ballyburn wins this race.
Nice, I like it. I think it'll be interesting because we've obviously got that Lord as an Ace on Sunday, and I like to read into stuff far more than's actually probably going to happen. But they've talked about this in Atlantique. Paul Townend's even already come out and said that he wouldn't be scared to take Firefox on again. And it's not always a fact-finding mission. Like, they're not running in Atlantique just for information. They're running it to try and run a race. But if Firefox puts in Atlantique to bed like a good horse, that could make them question Ballyburn. And I would imagine that would be the only reason in my head that Ballyburn might decide to dodge Firefox and go back to a Supreme. But as it stands, he's 5-2 non-runner money back. If you knew 100% that Ballyburn was coming here, he was close enough to Firefox to think that he could reverse the form. In the knowledge of what's going to happen on Sunday, Firefox could shit home in a Lawless of Nace, and then that could make you question it. But if Firefox did go and get beat over the weekend, all of a sudden Ballyburn's price might start tumbling down. It might start crashing even further. And we look at Jericho de Repene, who's about a 4 or 5 to 1 poke for a Supreme, where we're saying probably deserves to be there, but we haven't actually done enough yet to suggest that he is that. And then you've got a Ballyburn that sits at around about 4 to 1. Yes, you're taking a bit of a punt whether he runs you or not. I think Ballyburn is the horse of the race. I think he's the one. If one of these horses is going to be an absolute monster, it is him. And with the Firefox stuff, as much as he was on my radar at the start of the season, like I say, you can see snippets of the Betfair exchangey stuff in there. I didn't pile into him when he was 40s at the start of the season. And that's what you got to remember, right? At the start of the season, Firefox was a 40 to 1 poke for Ballymore. He's won a couple of races as a second season novice. He's now the price that he is. Ballyburn was always well regarded for this. And although he got beat first time up, it's like the Bob Ollinger Fernie Hollow Maiden Herd. I'll say it time and time again. It wasn't a bad run. He got beat when Gordons were ready and Willys weren't. So I think we're probably all in agreement that if it was guns ahead and you had to have all of your betting bank on a horse in the Ballymore, we'd be sticking it on Ballyburn, right?
Agreed.
Jamie,
Yeah,
Jamie doesn't want to risk the bank, but you do, didn't you?
100% all day now.
Go on.
I'll also say I think Caldwell Potter on normal festival ground will come here, and I think Caldwell Potter will also be better than Firefox.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's going to be probably 4 places up for grabs. There's going to be a lot of maybe even each way doubles you can do across the Supreme, the Ballymore, and the Albert Bartlett, where those extended places that are up there, you could easily get 2 or 3 of these that might go in there. Because that's my fear with a horse like a Slade Steel. I think he'll just be not good enough to win at Cheltenham. He might win a race at Aintree or somewhere else. Like, he might just not be good enough. Ballyburn is without doubt a grade 1 horse. Firefox, hopefully on Sunday, will prove that he is, but that would be the grade 1 I think he wins this season as opposed to this. But we're going to find out. It's an exciting looking race, and I think we're starting to get a bit more confident on some selections as well. Do we need to talk any more about the Ballymore, or should we move on to the race that all of our reputations will land on in the Brown Advisory? We're moving on. We're moving on. Say no more.